Denied.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going? So, we're going to talk about familiars today. Let's get right into it. So, to kind of give you guys at least well, another overview of familiars again. Let me just be clear, okay? The Trickstar drops 10,000 holy stars occasionally. Sometimes he drops 1,000. Sometimes he drops 5,000. And when this guy is fully maxed, it's like, 3 every couple days. So FYI, you definitely want to get this guy up and maxed as soon as you possibly can. In fact, actually, I recommend you drop everything you're doing right now and go straight for this familiar. Because, dude, it's ridiculous how much you can actually get from the familiars. I mean, really, it's like the gem and gremlin, for example, I'm getting about 300 to 600 gems every 2 days as well. I mean, it's pretty good stuff, needless to say. Now, what is my strategy, all right, in terms of how to approach the familiars? And here's what I have to recommend for you so that you too can get up here and actually rise up in the ranks in terms of familiars. So this is what I recommend. For most of you, you've probably spent most of your time building an army, doing military research and all that nature and all that stuff. Well, here's my 2 cents, all right? I think if a person has got your academy up to 25, I think you can certainly pursue a lot of this late game Pack 3 to Pack 4 stuff, no problem. But for the rest of us who don't have that or don't have access to that, you're probably not going to find this very useful. But for the rest of us that are kind of in that category where you're not at that stage yet, what can you do to get there soon? And here's the thing, right? A lot of people who've played the game have probably into the mental block of, well, shoot, I've got to wait X amount of time for this particular research and this particular building and whatever it might even be. You'll always run into either a problem of I don't have enough speed ups or I don't have enough gems. Now, for those of you who want to know exactly what I do and how I get ahead, is I look for the places in the game where you can kind of find yourself investing, say a few hours of your day, but come out with a huge investment that pays out over time. One of the few places that almost certainly pays out really well is the Trove. I think it's very well known up to this point that almost anybody to everybody that doesn't have a Trove needs to start one. Because the moment you get the Trove, it's a huge, huge, huge bonus to your account. But just about anybody to everybody probably doesn't know this, but what you need to do is look for a dead kingdom. For those of you who are like in the newer, say, active kingdoms, I think you will greatly benefit if you can get yourself into a kingdom that has less than, say, 4,000 or 5,000 people. And the reason why I say this is because essentially what you will be able to do is you're going to get a hold of all these gems down here. Now, interestingly enough, if you get below 5,000, you're making 10 gems a day. That may not seem like a lot, but it's still 10 gems, and that will rack up over a period of time. And I think for the average player that is in the newer kingdoms, yeah, you get a lot to benefit from them, initially. But if you are really interested in kind of stepping out of that kingdom and in hopes that you'll advance faster, I think you will certainly benefit from getting into an older kingdom for the lower Colosseum ranking. But that isn't with its difficulties, because obviously you know that if you leave, you're going to be in a dead kingdom more than likely. You're not going to have many allies, and you're probably going to be one of many who are isolated and likely going to perish militarily. Now, I think for the most part, I think anybody to everybody should really consider doing this, because what you're going to do is you're going to rack up gems. Now, when it comes to actually racking up speed ups, right, this is oftentimes, for a beginner, is probably a real difficulty. But I just think anybody to pay to play to free to play can do this, and it's really not too difficult. And this is, again, it goes into the fact that you need to focus, and I say this a lot, but you really, if you want to play this game and do it with minimal amounts of money ever spent, you need to first invest a great deal of time in the monster hunting tree and work your way up in the economy tree so that you're getting those resources that you need. But eventually you need to get yourself to a stage where you're in the familiar tree, because the amount of resources you need to do that is insane. But when you get there, it's incredible. Like it is. I'm frankly, I'm going to be so excited when we get to Pack 4. It's going to be such a big deal. Now, why am I talking about this stuff, and why is it? Why now? It's because essentially, I feel like if you want to get there and you want to get there quick, especially when it comes to speed ups and gems, is you need to be very wary of the fact that basically the economy of your account is a big, big deal. Obviously, anybody out there knows that if you have more than one account, that's more gems that you can be making in the Coliseum. That's more, resources and more of just about everything that you can have added that will give you that much more of an advantage over the player next to you. But for overall development, I feel that if you are somebody out there that is struggling to get speed ups and struggling to get enough gems to actually grow your account day in and day out, you definitely need to be in a guild that is fairly active. Now, that is something that even I find myself very, very often in a position in because I'm building my own guild from scratch. And because of that, you often have to deal with the struggle of what it is like to not have any people at all. Now, granted, when you don't have anybody but yourself, you have to find a coalition of people. And that means you need to start making friends and you need to start finding people because what you'll do is you'll take the gifts that you're getting and that will be a good source of speeds for a long time. But most importantly, what you need out of that is the guild gifts. But when you rack up those speeds, you're going to get them a great deal from your guild gifts, but even more so when you start hitting monsters yourself. Because as you work your way through the game, eventually the energy generated each day is going to be a very healthy supply of speeds that will hopefully build your account a little bit faster. Obviously, being able to join in guild darkness rallies will give you transmutations, and that's also a great deal that you can add to. But obviously, not everybody has access to these features just yet, because some of us are probably, for those of you out there that are still early into the game, most of this stuff is probably locked for you. And so what you'll have to do is you've got to aim through the chapters, most importantly. And that's something I do daily. I don't forget about this at all. And frankly, a person can benefit a great deal by making strides to get that much higher, both in the normal, but also in the elite, making it a daily task. And obviously, for those of you who get stuck, you need to make sure that you watch YouTube videos on the topic. Always look for different tutorials out there because I'm sure there are plenty. But if you ever get stuck and you're just completely, utterly baffled, odds are you're probably going to need to level up your heroes, and you're more than likely going to need them to go up a tier or two. Because obviously, as you progress through the chapters, it will only increasingly get more difficult. And don't ignore the trophies, because again, the trophies have a great deal to do with the stats of the heroes that you're using. So be very mindful of this when you are having a hard time, because these are little things that you can do that'll actually help out a great deal. Obviously, the troop composition is important in an army, just as it is with heroes. So knowing which heroes are important for different tasks and different uses is incredibly vital in order to actually do the chapters. But having that said, all right, with what I'm telling you right now, why do I focus and strain the topic of familiars so much? Well, for the most part, all right, for those of you out there who've been watching the channel, you've probably heard that I was telling you guys a great deal about this for quite a while. Well, here's the thing, all right? If familiars in the game are going to be potentially bought, for example, like the Gargantuan pack that is now out, okay, what this means to me is that over time, we're probably going to see more and more familiars like them in the future. And so what is incredibly important for everybody to do now is to really put more and more time into the familiars that are giving you the most economic benefit. Now, in my opinion, I feel like some of the top of the top familiars in the game are Harpy, Territe, Totemist, Trickstar, Gem and Gremlin, Evil Weevil. I could certainly see Aquarius being one of the best, but even Tempestite, Magus, and Boulder all have their perks. Even Goblin and Ostros, they're all good in their own right. Even Bonehead is, frankly, more useful than people realize. But again, I stress this because familiars in the game are a huge deal when it comes to actually getting there. But why is it important? Obviously, you know why now. But I say these things because essentially you always have to ask yourself, are you doing it right? Do you have 2 spires? Do you have 3? Are you doing, all gems or no gems? And these things are crucial because ultimately the speed at which you get through the levels of these familiars, as well as the actual tier of the familiars, is going to be very dependent on the buildings that you currently use. And so, for the most part, for those of you out there that have generated hundreds of millions of resources, or just you go out, you steal a bunch, believe me, you're gonna be one of those people that probably have to ask themselves if whether they want to build an insanely large army or invest all their resources into familiar pets. And me personally, okay, seeing as how that I've been using these abilities day in, day out, and it's only been only a few months. I can tell you that I've gotten well over 30,000 stars from this particular skill alone. Just look at the amount of VIP points I have since I last went to VIP 15. And none of this, again, mind you, absolutely none of this was ever bought. So all of the VIP points you see in here were all from that skill alone. That's an enormous amount of VIP points a person could be adding to their account daily. So don't ignore it. I stress this, and I stress it a lot, because it really, honestly, whether it be, lucky stars to refreshing your cargo ship, those little things will ultimately help you out even more. In fact, I even got lucky, and I just so happened to have a captain special that had 15 brave hearts for only $5. But even then, I stress this because the familiars are going to be a big deal, and they're probably going to be even more important in the near future. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to share, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.